Today we will talk about understanding your program data, how to prepare, how to collect, how to track, and how to report on program data. Understanding and reporting useful and accurate data is a critical component in the solicitation and award process and can help both yourself and your program manager gain key insights on many decision-making factors, whether those factors be time, resources, or funding. OJJDP uses performance data to not only understand the agency story, but also to demonstrate outcome-based results. In this training session, we will go over the revised performance measures, and we will discuss collecting and sharing information to help all of us better understand how well the Justice Reinvestment Initiative program is operating on the ground. To make this session as interactive as possible, please use the WebEx chat to respond to any questions that you see on the screen. So, for example, answering the question on your screen here helps us better understand you and your needs around collecting, tracking, and/or reporting data. Faye has responded. Faye is responding in chat. Lack of automation, so data is in paper form. Data not previously tracked, which means no baseline is available. Thank you, Faye. The agenda for today includes the following program overview: performance measures, collecting and tracking data and best practices, reporting data and best practices, as well as reporting in a pandemic, and what to do with personally identifiable information will be presented. Lastly, we will review key documents and resources. As we progress through the training, all website links mentioned during the training will be presented to you in chat and also provided to you in your copy of the presentation that will be emailed to you later this week. The objectives for today include understanding what the performance measure updates are for your program and understanding the need for a data collection plan for the data you collect between July 2021 and December 2021, reporting in January 2022. Further, you will gain understanding of the performance measure reporting due date. As you know, those due dates happen twice a year, July 30th and January 30th. Lastly, you will understand where to find those supporting resources. Now, in the showcase sessions we conducted last April, we talked about the newly updated performance measures as outlined in your solicitation or award and located at the OJJDP.ojp.gov website. This training is being presented to you to emphasize the fact that now is the time to start planning on collecting and tracking data for the July through December 2021 reporting cycle, with the goal of reporting January 2022 on these newly revised performance measures. Let's remind ourselves of the performance measures process and then discuss the newly updated performance measures found in the Justice Reinvestment Initiative program. As you review these performance measures with Sarah, you may recognize some of them, since not all of them were changed in the updating process. I'll pass the microphone to Sarah.
Thank you, Rebecca. In the intervention division, we have several programs. The program that we're talking about today is the Justice Reinvestment Program as part of the intervention division. Which performance measures do grantees report on? They will be reporting on service delivery, TTA, system improvement, prevention, intervention outcomes, program quality, protective factors, productive lives, youth accountability, and program outcome measures. What is the difference about this program, or what standout features make it unique? This program funds system improvement efforts to reduce youth sent to out-of-home placement, reinvest savings in community-based programs, supports elimination of youth isolation in facilities, training for juvenile prosecutors, and improving courts' response to victims of child exploitation. And who are the grant funds intended to help? It's the juvenile justice systems and facilities. The framework or logic model used to write the performance measures includes 4 components: inputs, activities, outputs, and outcomes. Inputs are program resources such as grant funding and award administration. Activities are actions that convert inputs to outputs and can be anything from identifying key personnel with access to crime and alcohol abuse data to establishing information sharing agreements. Outputs are products or services that are the result of activities such as trainings and meetings. Outcome measures speak to the longer-term program goals. The newly updated performance measures will require changes in the way that you collect data, and that's why we're here today, to ensure you understand that you are reporting on the newly updated performance measures during the July through December 2021 period from January 30th of 2022, and that you have a plan in place to do so. The performance measures document the progress that you have made in accomplishing program goals and objectives by collecting data on grantee activities and services. Remember, regular reporting on performance measure outcomes establishes your program's growth. You can find your program's performance measures at this online location listed on the slide. The newly updated performance measures will require changes to the way you collect data, and that's why we're here, to ensure that you understand that you'll be reporting on these newly reported performance measures. OJJDP does understand that data collection will begin in just a few days, and that organizations, agencies, and subawards will need some time to review, process, and create a data collection plan for select performance measures. Some indicators will be easier than others. We encourage you to work with your partners and TTA providers on a data collection plan. OJJDP identified and organized the newly updated performance measures to include 3 different categories. The categories include overall measures, multi-program measures, and program-specific measures. In overall measures, grantees will be asked the same overall questions in every program. This allows analysts to aggregate the data across multiple programs and assist with responding to ad hoc data requests. Multi-program measures impact 3 different types of populations. One are shared targeted populations, such as children involved in the child welfare system or tribal youth. Second are those with a similar service delivery model, so for example, mental health services or prevention services. And 3, those with shared outcomes. So an example could be youth provided with defense counsel. Program-specific measures collect data that align with a specific population, funded activity, or desired result. These measures help reflect the unique outputs and outcomes for each specific program and distinguishes them from other programs. Program-specific measures also help track the progress of individual programs over time. So for this program, there are 34 performance measures. There's 23 overall, 5 multi-program and 6 program-specific. So of those 34, it breaks down to 8 overall outputs and 26 outcomes. Next, let's look at the performance measures for your program. We will not be able to cover all of the measures for the Justice Reinvestment Initiative program, but we will highlight some of the most important and unique ones that are specific to the program. First, we'll begin by reviewing the TTA measures. To report on this overall TTA output measure, you will report on the number of training requests received and also the number of training events held. A training request is any formal or informal inquiries for learning activities, curriculum development or delivery, and for a group of individuals or organizations. Training events are planned activities developed to help individuals apply knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed by a task, job, or organization. They can include both train the trainer and training of individuals. For the next TTA overall output measure, number of individuals trained, you will simply report on the total number of individuals trained during the reporting cycle and the population trained. A text box will be provided to capture your response for population trained, and some examples could be staff, volunteers, or social workers. For this PTA overall output measure, percentage of technical assistance requests delivered, you will report the total number of technical assistance requests accepted and the total number of technical assistance requests delivered. For B, it is important to report the total number of technical assistance requests delivered and to break it down by the type of technical assistance request. Again, a text box will be provided to indicate the type. For this PTA overall outcome measure, you will provide data on the total number of individuals that use the skills or knowledge learned at a training within 3 months of attending the training, determined by a post-training survey. For example, when you begin collecting data for the upcoming reporting cycle, July to December of 2021, you will capture post-survey data received during the reporting cycle that reflects that individuals used the knowledge or skills learned from a training event that occurred during the previous reporting cycle or within 3 months of attending the training. We understand that as a new grantee, or if you're reporting on this measure for the first time, you may still be developing a post-survey during the July to December 2021 reporting cycle. For the last overall PTA outcome measure, percentage of organizations who employed a new evidence-based or promising service, policy, or practice recommended by a technical assistance provider, you will provide data on the total number of organizations that received technical assistance for A, the number of organizations that employed a new evidence-based or promising service, policy, or practice after receiving technical assistance for B, and the number of organizations that employed a new service, policy, or practice after receiving technical assistance. To report on this overall output individuals served measure, you will report on the number of individuals served by population. This performance measure captures the total number of individuals served and is broken down by the number of children, youth, young adults, parents or legal guardians, and additional family members. Since OJJDP funding is targeted to serve children and youth, the various categories of individuals served help OJJDP isolate the true number of children and youth served. This measure also captures the number of individuals who were carried over and the number who were new admissions during the reporting cycle to avoid duplication. Percentage of eligible individuals served by a multidisciplinary team is an example of a multi-program service delivery output measure. You will simply provide a total count of the number of individuals served by a multidisciplinary team. A multidisciplinary team is 2 or more individuals representing different disciplines working collectively toward a shared mission, goal, or outcome for the benefit of the same individual or group of individuals. Percentage of costs saved or averted that are then reinvested in evidence-based, community-based programs is a program-specific system improvement outcome measure. You will provide the total amount of savings and or costs in dollars that were averted because of a policy or practice change, and the total amount saved or averted that were reinvested in evidence-based, community-based programs. A program or practice is defined as evidence-based if up to 3 rigorous outcome evaluations, which are utilizing experimental or quasi-experimental designs, demonstrated its effectiveness by measuring the relationship between the program and its intended outcomes, and has the ability to replicate and scale when implemented with fidelity. Some examples of a community-based program include, but are not limited to, educational, vocational, training, counseling, drug treatment, or other rehabilitative services. Percent change in eligible individuals is in a non-secure residential facility is also a program-specific system improvement outcome measure. For this measure, you will provide the number of individuals who were in a non-secure facility at the beginning of the award cycle, which is the first time data is reported at the start of the award, and the number of individuals placed in a non-secure facility during the activity period. Examples of a non-secure residential facility include a residential treatment facility, non-secure confinement, group home, foster care, or shelter care. We calculate the percentage by looking at the direction of the trend compared against the beginning of the award cycle. Percent change in eligible individuals in secure confinement is a program-specific system improvement outcome. You will report the number of individuals who were in a secure residential facility at the beginning of the award cycle and the number of individuals placed in a secure residential facility during the activity period. Examples of secure confinement may include a secure residential treatment facility, confinement, detention, a group home, or shelter care. And again, we calculate the percentage by looking at the direction of the trend compared against the beginning of the award cycle. And now we're down to the last three performance measures that we'll be covering. And for this one, percentage of eligible individuals who earned a certificate of achievement is a program-specific youth accountability outcome measure. You will provide the number of eligible individuals who applied for a certificate of achievement and the number who earned a certificate of achievement. A certificate of achievement is a court document that indicates to a potential employer that an individual is rehabilitated and demonstrated positive behavior since their involvement in the court system. We calculate this percentage by dividing B over A. Percent change in the number of eligible individuals placed in isolation in a secure facility is a program-specific targeted program outcome measure. You will report the number of incidents of individuals placed in isolation in a secure facility in the 6 months prior to the beginning of the award period or award start, and the number of incidents of individuals placed in isolation during the reporting period. Isolation is any instance in which an individual is confined alone for more than 15 minutes in a room or cell. We calculate the percentage by monitoring the direction and percent change from the beginning of the award period against the number of incidents during the reporting period. And lastly, percentage of individuals charged with child exploitation who are convicted of child exploitation is the final measure that we will highlight today. It is also a program-specific targeted program outcome measure. You will report the number of individuals charged with child exploitation and the number of individuals convicted of child exploitation during the activity period. We calculate the percentage by dividing B over A. And now I will pass it back to Rebecca.
Thank you, Sarah. We have a short scenario for you after reviewing the program performance measures. We have Brenda Sokup. She is a new Justice Reinvestment Initiative grantee, and she has just received the newly updated performance measures. She's attended this learning event, and she's sitting at her desk wondering how to get started. What would you recommend Ms. Sokup do to prepare for data collection July to December 2021 and reporting in January of 2022? Please go ahead and enter your response into the chat box. Faye is posting, review what needs to be collected, see what her agency is currently tracking, make a plan for what is not currently being tracked, and how to store what is being tracked. Thank you, Faye. In the past, other responses that we've received are also in line with this post. Determining who will be responsible for capturing and tracking the data, who is responsible for reporting the data into JustGrants. Thank you. Now, just to clarify, we have had a question in the past from previous sessions regarding the reporting, and I just want to cover that briefly while we're here talking about her preparation and what she needs to be aware of. The FY19 and prior grantees will continue to complete reports in the PMT and submit them in JustGrants during the July submission period. We encourage all FY19 and prior grantees who can close out during the July submission period to do so. FY20 grantees will continue to report on and submit narrative questions in JustGrants during the July submission period. FY20 grantees plus FY19 and prior grantees whose award has not yet ended will report on the newly revised performance measures in JustGrants beginning January 2022. Okay, so that was something I want to add. It has come up in the past. Moving on, we will now review best practices while collecting and tracking data. Creating a data collection plan requires a good deal of pre-planning and preparation. When creating a data collection plan, best practices often include locating the performance measures for your program, as we just pointed out, understanding what each question is asking, and determining how to respond, even if the response is a 0, and creating a plan to identify when and how you will collect the data. For example, what type of tool or instrument will you use to collect the needed data? Has the tool or instrument been validated and or used before? How accurate is this tool or instrument? And who will collect the data using the tool or instrument? There are several best practices you can implement when collecting good data. You want to be proactive in your approach. You want to designate staff for the coordination of the performance measure data collection process. You want to review the progress reporting questionnaire before entering data. You want to ensure that designated staff participate in all trainings. You want to pay attention to communication from JustGrants. And lastly, if applicable, you want to review and edit and validate data with sub-grantees before reporting. Some things to think about as you plan to collect and track data include timelines and resources. After all, this can be a lengthy data collection period, as noted in your solicitation. Some of the questions that you may want to consider while planning include duration of data collection and document version control. Does your plan include a beginning, a middle, and an ending date? How will you manage documents over that time period? For example, will you track them using an Excel spreadsheet? Regarding location and access, how long will you store the data? Who will have access to it? And if it is stored on a shared drive, who is given permission? Lastly, how will changes be communicated? How will the data be validated and edited if applicable? We will now review several best practices during reporting. In the January 2022 reporting cycle, you'll be reporting on the newly revised performance measures and narrative questions. Narrative questions provide you with the opportunity to answer or address the following. What do the numbers you reported on in your performance measures actually mean on the ground? How does your work impact your community? You want to use the narrative to walk the reader from the numeric output to the tangible outcome. And you want to use specific and detailed concrete examples to illustrate your points. Other things to think about when writing your narrative include providing evidence to support conclusions, thinking about those things that funding has allowed you to do that you could not do prior to receiving the funding, and could include words like COVID-19 and pandemic when explaining COVID-19 adjustments to the program. On the screen, you see an example of a narrative. Next, let's discuss best practices for reporting in JustGrants. Common issues arise since you are required to respond to every question. When reporting zeros, if a measure does not apply, you can enter a 0 value and then add an explanation by selecting the comments field. A brief description, such as "we are still in our planning period," or "there was no activity during the reporting cycle," are acceptable responses in JustGrants. Avoiding duplication and count can also be very challenging. Having more than one person review the data, for example, a program manager, can help ensure duplicate data does not exist in your reporting. And, as you know, reporting is awards-based. Another best practice for those of you with multiple awards when trying not to duplicate data is to spend down funds and create a final report of activities you performed for the oldest award first before beginning to enter data and reporting on another award. If this is not possible, prorate your quantitative data according to the amount of each award. Contact JustGrants with any concerns related to error messages found in JustGrants. You can save your data and resume data entry at a later point in time in JustGrants. And for more information on this as well as other things, please visit the YouTube video using the link provided on the previous screen and also provided in chat. Lastly, you may want to contact the PMT Helpdesk for any questions related to progress reporting or reporting on the newly updated performance measures. You are encouraged to reach out to your program manager with questions or concerns. As mentioned previously, some grantees may receive funding from other awards. A service should be reported under one program or the other. The same service cannot be reported under multiple programs. If you have difficulty tracking services for each specific award, work with OJJDP program managers to identify an appropriate method for prorating all services to allocate numbers to each award. This session only focuses on January 2022 reporting. For this July 2021, all discretionary awards will start collecting data on the updated performance measures. You will be reporting on the activities that occurred between July and December 2021 in January 2022. Discretionary awards reporting deadlines, as you know, are July 30th for the reporting period January 1st through June 30th, and January 30th for the reporting period July 1st through December 31st. Collecting and tracking data that contains personally identifiable information, PII, should be done with consideration towards the Privacy Act of 1974. Broadly stated, the purpose of the Privacy Act is to balance the government's need to maintain information about individuals with the rights of the individual to be protected against unwarranted invasion of their privacy. In accordance with this act, you want to collect only the data you need. If you are using printed materials, keep sensitive PII in locked desk drawers, file cabinets, or similar locked enclosures. And when using sensitive PII, you want to keep it in an area where access is controlled and limited to persons with an official need to know. Reporting in a pandemic. You should complete progress reporting to the best of your ability and submit it before the deadline. Every progress report form includes a narrative or multiple narrative fields where you can provide additional information about the data. Use that space to explain any incomplete or missing data. You're encouraged to use the narrative field that asks for additional information about the effectiveness to describe COVID-19 related adjustments to programming and other activities not captured elsewhere on the form. If you cannot provide accurate count for numerical progress report fields, because project partners do not have access to files, for example. You should leave those fields blank rather than providing estimates. As a best practice, you want to communicate all setbacks and successes through the use of progress reports as well as with your program specialist. So, how do you report on activities now that they've been shifted to online remote platforms? And when you've not been collecting detailed data on individuals served like you did in face-to-face sessions? The short answer here is to do the best you can and make very good use of those narrative fields. I'd like to pass the microphone to Muniba, who will discuss the various resources at your disposal and where to go for assistance. Muniba?
Thank you, Rebecca. Now we will briefly go over resources and where to find additional assistance. The PMT Help Desk is available to help you with any questions you may have about responding to the progress reporting questions or performance measures. You can contact us by calling the number on the screen or emailing OJJDP PMT at ojp.usdoj.gov. For a faster response, we encourage grant award administrators to send the Help Desk an email. The OJJDP PMT Help Desk contact information is available on the screen. Our office hours are Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, except for U.S. federal holidays. The PMT Help Desk returns emails and phone calls within 24 hours, so please don't hesitate to leave a voicemail or email even after business hours. JustGrants support. If you have questions about the JustGrants system, for example, accessing the system, please call the number on the screen between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and Saturday, Sunday, and federal holidays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you experience any issues with JustGrants, we strongly encourage grant award administrators to contact JustGrants support. JustGrants information, such as instructions on locating, completing, and submitting performance reports in JustGrants, can be found on the ojjdp.ojp.gov website or by viewing the video available on the screen. You can also log into JustGrants at justgrants.usdoj.gov. Thank you. Now back to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Muniba. Let's take a moment to reflect on what was presented. First, we discussed each of the program-specific Justice Reinvestment Initiative performance measures, noting the specific instances where data would need to be collected and the type of data needed. Next, we learned about best practices for planning, collecting, tracking, and reporting on data for the July through December 2021 reporting cycle. An important takeaway is the fact that OJJDP understands that data collection has begun and organizations, agencies, and subawards need time to review, process, and create a data collection plan for these performance measures. Some indicators will be easier to collect than others. We encourage you to work with your partners and TTA providers on a data collection plan. So, what is next? Next steps include the opportunity we all have to collect data that will inform change down the road. For our part, those changes come in the form of edited performance measures. You will be receiving a fillable feedback form that you are requested to complete and return to the PMT Help Desk once you have familiarized yourself with the newly updated performance measures. There is one form per performance measure with plenty of room for narrative. Providing us with feedback on the newly revised performance measures gives us the information we need to fully understand your needs or those challenges that you face implementing that particular measure. Thus, collecting your feedback now on the newly revised performance measures informs the refresh cycle after the pilot has occurred and we have identified changes or updates. For now, however, no planned changes to the performance measures are being considered, and we would request that you do not make any changes to any of the documents posted online or provided in training sessions. And this concludes today's session.